Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. With that, I think we have a packed agenda. We're going to start off with a quick introduction of Fortinet and then talk through some of the security operations challenges we've heard from our customers over the last 18 to 24 months, and then give you a glimpse of SOC automation, its framework, and what are our offerings within that framework, and then talk through one of the key products and what are some of the key features to enable analytics and automation. And lastly, we will leave you with some next steps. So for the fellows who are not familiar with Fortinet, Fortinet was founded almost 2 decades ago, and we are the #1 cybersecurity company in the world, leading every evolution of cybersecurity over the last 2 decades. We have over 30% of global firewall shipments to date, with over 450,000 customers worldwide, with the most patents under our belt, and have the most broadest portfolio, right? With over 30 plus cybersecurity products protecting the broadest attack surface area. Now, our primary goal is to protect every edge of our customers' infrastructure, and we do that through 4 key pillars, ranging from zero trust network access to security-driven networking, to dynamic cloud security, to AI-driven security operations. And we do that through a unique architecture called Fortinet Security Fabric, which enables broad visibility, integrated offerings, and automated workflows with across our product portfolio, like I mentioned before, over 30 different products. And doing that at scale is very hard, and Fortinet Security Fabric has been doing that for the last, I would say, 5-6 years, right? In today's session in particular, our focus is going to be on the security operations section and how we simplify security operations for our customers mid-market and above. So if you think about it, especially over our conversations, hundreds of these conversations with the security teams in the mid-market and above, complexity is a key challenge, especially over the last, I would say, 18 to 24 months. It's a key challenge because customers have either too many vendors, or they are inundated with too many alerts, or because of manual response, or lastly, because of skill shortage, right, that we all as an industry talked about. In fact, I think there are multiple studies to validate data behind each of these reasons. But in particular, there was an ESG research that came out, and in fact, in their survey, it turns out that over 1/3 of all the respondents validated that complexity is one of their key challenge, and one or many of these reasons attributed to that complexity. Now, how do we, as part of the security fabric, address complexity as a key challenge to the security operations team? Now, as you know, Fortinet operates in small businesses, medium businesses, large businesses, and service providers as well. And in particular, the way we think about our tools for the SOC operations and how we simplify is based on a very simple framework called SOC maturity framework. And based on the level of maturity, which we will talk about in a little bit, we have the tools in our toolkit to fix the complexity of SOC operations for that particular customer. Now, as a foundation, you start off with FortiAnalyzer, which is the core product of the security fabric that provides both analytics as well as automation to our customers. And then On top of it, we have FortiSIM. As you get multiple vendors and you want visibility across your multi-vendor environment, we have an offering called FortiSIM that enables you with that. And as you get to level 3 maturity, we see customers going with security orchestration, automation, and response, a standalone offering that we have as well, which we call FortiSOAR, that enables automated response beyond the security fabric in your multi-vendor environment as well. So what is this maturity framework, right? And our maturity framework is a very simple framework based on the people in your organization, the process that they take, and the capabilities that they're looking for, right? So for example, when you are talking about level 1 maturity, you're talking about a medium-sized business with one IT and security team, and very likely they have maybe less than 5 IT security staff, and they are looking at their incident response plan as very best effort, and very likely they don't have tools or products that kind of enables them to accelerate incident response. So what they're looking for is logging and reporting across their infrastructure. They're looking for automated detection and response from the same tool that does logging and reporting, right? So that's, to us, is level 1 SOC maturity. Now, as you move to level 2, you're talking about medium to large business, but here you see the infrastructure team different from the security team, and very likely you have a security team that's about maybe 3 to 5 dedicated security staff. Here you see that your process is on the IR side, on the incident response side, is getting a little bit more baked, and you have a basic IR plan for every incident. And then here, in addition to the capabilities that we talked about for level 1, you're also looking for multi-vendor incident detection, right? And then as you move into level 3, here on the people side, in addition to a dedicated security team, you would see a security ops center or SOC analyst and SOC team. And in particular, for the enterprises with level 3 SOC maturity, you would see at least 5, a team of at least 5 SOC analysts as part of your SOC team. And here on the process side, you're following very advanced SOC processes, and you're leveraging playbooks, which also kind of creates a need for you to have alert management at scale, creates a need for you to unify the orchestration, automation, and response across your multi-vendor environment. So level 1, you're talking about one team. Level 2, you see the separation between infrastructure and security team. And as you move to level 3, think about a large financial services customer or a large oil and gas customer who has, for example, tens of SOC analysts who are kind of leveraging the tools to protect their own enterprise, right? So that's what SOC maturity level 3 means. Now, when we get to level 1 and the primary product that is enabling efficiency and incident response for level 1 SOC maturity customer is FortiAnalyzer. And FortiAnalyzer is providing our customers with 4 key use cases, ranging from security fabric analytics to compliance reporting to advanced detection to automated response. And we've been providing our customers these use cases over the last decade, if not more. And we have over 25,000 customers across segments, medium, large, NSP, that are using FortiAnalyzer for one or many of these reasons. Now, as you get to level 2 maturity, in addition to FortiAnalyzer, we see customers going with SIM. But in particular, in our portfolio, we have a SIEM offering as well, which is FortiSIEM, and our primary angle on FortiSIEM is around accelerating threat detection to help improve visibility across your multi-vendor environment. And we provide use cases like accelerated threat detection all the way to AI-driven threat intel. Even FortiSIEM has been around for over a decade, 12 plus years. We have over 750 customers, and we are also mentioned in the Gartner SIEM MQ as well. Now, as we move along and we get to level 3 SOC maturity, you see, like I was saying before, customers want dedicated security orchestration, automation, and response offering. And actually, Gartner has a SOAR market guide as well, where they talk about the capabilities that are essential for a SOAR offering. And we've acquired this company called CyberSponse late last year and very aggressively kind of integrated that into our security fabric and released in Feb, I believe, we released 6.0 version of FortiSOAR, and we just released 6.4 version of FortiSOAR as well. And FortiSOAR in particular, with over 100 plus customers all over the world, we provide 4 key use cases ranging from unified incident response management to alert triage automation to SOC optimization to SOC collaboration. And these SOC optimization and SOC collaboration are important because we see customers wanting to have their SOC teams operate continuously over 3 shifts on a 24-hour day, right? And for you to make the operation continuous from one team to the other, you need tools that enable extensive collaboration. You need tools that enable one shift worker to seamlessly transfer incidents to the other shift worker. And you need tools that kind of optimize what has to be, that can enable optimizing what has to be done by shift 2 over shift 1, right? So all of that kind of creates the need for a category called SOAR, a dedicated category called SOAR, and that's what FortiSOAR addresses a customer's need around that category. With that, I think we've talked through the security fabric. We talked through SOC challenges, the 4 key challenges, which is around complexity. And we talked about how the SOC automation or maturity framework kind of enables you to choose the offering from the security fabric, from Fortinet, that can enable you to solve the problem of security operational complexity. Now, I want to take the next maybe 10 minutes or so talking about the foundation of that framework, which is FortiAnalyzer, and what are some of the key capabilities that enable both analytics as well as automation for our SOC teams. So the first thing is, what you're seeing on the right-hand side is some of the products. Now, Fortinet FortiGate is our primary product, and we operate in the next-gen firewall space for the fellows, again, who are not familiar with that. And then the FortiGate with the FortiOS can also be leveraged for projects like SD-WAN, because SD-WAN is built into our operating system. And then we have FortiClient, we have a NAC offering called FortiNAC, we have a mail, FortiMail, which secures mail. We have FortiAuthenticator, which is our identity management offering. We have a network management offering called FortiManager, and so forth. As you can see, all the way 15 products, and then the generic syslogs. Now, for a customer who is at level 1 SOC maturity, and if you remember the capabilities that they're looking for across their infrastructure, they want a product or an offering that can bring all the logs together, whether it is event logs, traffic logs, DNS logs, web filter logs, and so forth, and generate value from those logs. And FortiAnalyzer is that offering for the Security Fabric that kind of brings the logs from all of these products on the right-hand side and more, and generates a log as well, to generate value from those offerings in real time. And we give our customers a choice of form factor. Now, we see customers, especially now, over the last 3 to 6 months, kind of going with the VM form factor or the hosted form factor, right? But we do have customers who are comfortable with going with our appliances, right? And we have appliances ranging from 200 series all the way to 3700 series, which can take up to 100,000 logs per second, right? So customers who are very conscious about performance and who don't want to rely on external I/O requirements, but want a box that can take care of all the performance requirements for them, they choose a FortiAnalyzer box, a FortiAnalyzer appliance that can take care of their performance requirements as well. So the first key capability that kind of enables the foundation of SOC automation is logging and reporting for the fabric, which is FortiAnalyzer provides that for a range of products which are integrated into the fabric, as you can see that on the right. The second key capability is around compliance reporting. Now, we have compliance is a great tailwind, and we see a lot of customers coming to us and saying, how do you guys help us with, for example, PCI DSS compliance? How can you guys help us with NIST framework? How can you guys help us with CIS framework? So we've built that into our fabric, and we have an entitlement or a subscription service called Security Rating, which is an attached service to the FortiOS. So for example, as the customers purchase our firewalls, irrespective of the form factor, they can get this attached service on top of that firewall. And once they have that attached service, immediately you can see that there is value or reporting value that is unlocked as part of FortiAnalyzer. So we give you monitors, we give you some compliance reports like PCI DSS and so forth that are canned reports as part of FortiAnalyzer to enable you to prove compliance. Now, this by no means is telling you that you have met the compliance, but at least it accelerates you to prove compliance and to work with your compliance office and accelerate proving whether it is PCI DSS or HIPAA and so forth compliance as well. So that's the second key capability. The third key capability is around, so like I mentioned, our FortiGate can not only be used as next-gen firewall, but can also be used for your SD-WAN deployments, as SD-WAN is natively built into FortiOS. Now, customers in the mid-market and above in particular want reporting, connectivity reporting, SD-WAN reports around their deployments. And for that, as part of FortiAnalyzer, we provide a secure SD-WAN report, which again can be customized. And because we provide these templates as part of our library, and we see customers taking these templates, white labeling it, customizing it the way they choose to. And then FortiView monitors. So as you get to, again, level 1 and early part of level 2 SOC maturity, we see the SOC teams wanting monitors, and we have over a dozen CAN monitors, and these can also be customized, and monitors can be ranging from Security Fabric's help, right, to applications and website anomalies, to connectivity anomalies and so forth. All of these monitors are about giving you real-time view into your Security Fabric. Indicator of compromise is an attached service. Now, as the data from the security fabric is coming into FortiAnalyzer, for example, now you see this data can be event logs, can be traffic logs, can be DNS logs, can be web filter logs, and so forth. Now, once you get this data in a big data engine like FortiAnalyzer, you want to generate value from that data, and obviously reporting is good, monitoring is great, but beyond that, there is this attached service called Indicator of Compromise attached service, which is attached to the FortiAnalyzer, that enables you to leverage ML and AI capabilities from our FortiGuard labs and very quickly through our big data engine identify any compromised hosts or compromised users and so forth within your environment in real time. We can also, with our Indicator of Compromise rescan feature, you can leverage the latest threat intel from our FortiGuard labs and go back in time as well and see if there are any in-progress attacks. And we see customers, for example, who have a 3700F series, which again can take an ingestion rate of up to 100,000 logs per second, for example, leverage that feature to go back in time at an off-peak time, like for example at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. You can schedule the rescan and look with the latest intel. You can look for any anomalies within your infrastructure, within your environment, by kind of doing correlation across all the logs from the security fabric. Then the other thing is around integration. Now, we did talk about security fabric and our core thesis of broad visibility, integrated products, and automated workflows, right? So when we think about integration, think of a FortiGate, which is a firewall product, which might be, for example, sitting in, let's say, in California, right? And then think of FortiAnalyzer, which might be sitting somewhere in the East Coast, which is aggregating all the logs, from your infrastructure. And very likely, if you're going with the appliance form factor, you would put it across multiple regions, you would put it in HA and all of that good stuff. But more importantly, you can also leverage the analytics engine from FortiAnalyzer within your FortiGate, which might be sitting in California, for example, right? And we have something called as automation stitches, which is a very simple framework of if this, then that, right? So if this trigger happens, then do this. That's what we are showing on the right-hand side in the GUI as part of the automation stitch. And you can leverage a very advanced event handler that you've defined within FortiAnalyzer, which, for example, could be something like off office hours access to, for example, a privileged resource, right? So that could be a question that can be in the form of an event handler, and you can leverage that event handler as a trigger within your FortiGate and provide inline protection, or provide an event trigger, leverage that event trigger and provide some kind of a notification, right? So that's the true kind of meaning of integration within our fabric. And what we are talking about here is the deep real-time integration between FortiOS within the FortiGate and FortiAnalyzer, irrespective of where they are. And the communication is all secure. And we use proprietary channels, and we use security between the communication between those channels as well. Lastly, I mean, when we talk about SOAR, as part of the level 1 SOC maturity, we have something called as FortiSOC, which is a module or an application that sits on top of FortiAnalyzer. Like again, if we go back to the example of a customer having 3700F and they've just upgraded from 6.2 version to 6.4 version, they can very easily purchase the FortiSOC module, which is an entitlement that can be coming through the enterprise protection bundle that we have for the 3700F series. And once they get that, they get the entitlement to install the FortiSOC module. And once you have the FortiSOC module within FortiAnalyzer, that unlocks SOAR Lite capability, security, orchestration, automation, and response capabilities within the fabric. So one way that manifests itself is now you have better visualization of all the events that kind of come in within FortiAnalyzer across, like I was talking about early on, across the fabric. Beyond visualization, we have playbooks. Now, playbooks is a concept that we've talked about for as customers advance on their SOC maturity. Playbook is a concept that they use to optimize their response, right? And we give you playbooks. You can create easily. We have some canned playbooks, but you can also create playbooks and within the security fabric to automate response. And this is showing how we can do incident response management within FortiSOC, again, which is SOAR Lite capabilities for customers who are at level 1 maturity and early part of level 2 maturity. They might not want a dedicated SOAR offering. So this is an attempt to give those customers SOAR Lite features in the form of playbooks, in the form of incident response management, in the form of automation through connectors. We have connectors into the security fabric, for example, to FortiEMS, to FortiOS, and so forth, that can enable you to very quickly kind of execute your playbook. Now, I think we talked about Fortinet, we talked about for SOC operations, what are some of the key challenges on complexity, and we talked about how our tools within the SOC portfolio, FortiAnalyzer, FortiSIEM, and FortiSOAR can help address complexity within security teams, irrespective of the level of maturity. And then we double-clicked on FortiAnalyzer, which is the foundation for level 1 SOC maturity, and how it enables both analytics and automation. Now, we do hear questions from a lot of customers around, okay, what is your recommendation or deployment, right? And this is an attempt to give you some guidelines on deployment of FortiAnalyzer in a gradual, in a step-by-step fashion within your enterprise. And we see customers as step 1, for example, leveraging logging and reporting, right? So you have FortiGates, you can have 3, 4, 5 FortiGates. You may have FortiClients, you may have the other products that we talked about, but even with 3, 4, or 5 FortiGates, we see customers bringing all those logs in one place and generating value from those logs, right? And that's where FortiAnalyzer can bring in all of those logs, whether it is event logs, traffic logs, device, web filter logs, and so forth, bring it all together and provide reporting, provide some baseline monitoring, and so forth with FortiAnalyzer. Even with 3 gates, we see customers leveraging it for baseline logging and reporting. Now, as they move up to step 2, like I was talking about, you can turn on the security fabric and start to share real-time telemetry across all these various products within the security fabric and make 1 + 1 greater than 2, right? So for example, we see customers who have, let's say, 10 gates and maybe a FortiNAC and so forth, and they want to generate value. They want to share real-time telemetry across all of this. In the back end, FortiAnalyzer can power that, and you can generate immediate value through the Security Fabric analytics in FortiAnalyzer as well. And then as you move to step 3, you're talking about automation. And automation, a good way to internalize automation for the Fabric is what we talked about in the form of automation stitches and FortiSOC, right? And FortiSOC as a module. So those two things kind of are good examples of automation for the Security Fabric. So in simple step 1, step 2, and step 3 terms, basic is logging and reporting, and we see customers moving up to analytics, and then very soon they move up to automation, which again, all of these 3 steps at the end of the day is about addressing complexity, simplifying operations, and addressing complexity as a key challenge. With that, I think before I pass it on to Ashleigh and see if there are any questions, I wanted to quickly summarize today's session. I want to thank you, first of all of you for taking the time and spending about 30-35 minutes with us. We truly appreciate it. And if there is one thing that you want to take away from this webinar, it is about in Fortinet, through the Security Fabric and simplifying security operations, which is our SOC portfolio. Our objective is to help you address complexity of SOC operations, and we offer it through a very simple framework based on the levels of maturity that the SOC team has. We have a tool, whether it is FortiAnalyzer or FortiAnalyzer and FortiSIEM or FortiAnalyzer, FortiSIEM, and FortiSOAR, we can enable you to simplify security operations very easily. With that, I want to pass it over to Ashleigh to see if there are any questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Satish. I think you did a really great job of going through the variety of different options we have here. And we have had quite a few questions that have come in related to that. So we'll make sure that we get through those. So I did want to remind our audience that we do appreciate all of your questions, and that if we are unable to get to them during our live event today, that we will respond to you via the email that you provided. So let me go ahead and jump in here. Let's see. This first one is coming from Heidi, and she's asking, you talked about the FortiAnalyzer, FortiSIEM, and FortiSOAR. Which one is the best option, and which one do you recommend starting with, I guess?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. Thanks, Heidi, for asking that. In general, I think which one is best is based on the level of maturity, right? So you can be a customer who has one IT security team, and you're trying to optimize the number of tools that you have, right? You want to consolidate the number of tools that you have, and maybe FortiAnalyzer might be good enough for you, right? Now, if you have a multi-vendor environment beyond syslog logging, and you want to aggregate all of those logs in one place and improve your detection speed, then you would need a FortiSIEM. So the use cases are very different, and a simple way again to think of this is the SOC maturity framework and how our tools can help within the SOC maturity framework. So for example, if you are if your center of gravity is very much on level 1, maybe FortiAnalyzer is good enough because it gives you the analytics, it gives you the automation for the Security Fabric. As long as your center of gravity on the security tools are also aligned with Fortinet. So you have a FortiGate for firewall, you probably have FortiNAC, or you have FortiClient and so forth, or FortiMail and so forth. If you have a portfolio of products from Fortinet, then FortiAnalyzer can give you that analytics, which is, we call it SIEM Lite features, and it gives you the automation, which we call the SOAR Lite features, right? So FortiAnalyzer might be good. Now, as you move to level 3 maturity, and you're talking about, for example, a large enterprise, as an example, as a financial services large enterprise, and you probably have a SOC team, which is maybe 30 people. Now, in cases like that, you want best in breed. So when you are going with best in breed, then you're going to go with FortiAnalyzer, which can aggregate and provide value for the Fortinet Security Fabric. And in addition to that, you would definitely have a SIM, right? And maybe you have a SIM from one of the other vendors like Splunk or Logarithm or whoever. And then you're also looking for efficiency for your SOC teams. When you have 30 member SOC team, very similar to how Atlassian has solved the problem of efficiency for development teams through Jira and so forth. SOC analysts also need tools to make them much more effective as well as efficient, and that's where the SOAR offering comes in, right? So I think it depends on the level of maturity that your SOC team has, and based on that, what we are trying to tell here, or what we want to guide here is we have a tool within the Security Fabric that can enable you with that objective of simplifying SOC operations.
Great, thank you for that. Sounds like a consultation would be in order to determine where you're at and what you need to go forward with that. So thank you very much, Satish. So we have another one here coming from Kurt, and he's asking, so how would this SOC automation framework play into a SIM that I may already have, like Splunk or others?
Yeah, sure. I mean, this is a good question, right? So, I mean, I think we put in the products that kind of are integrated and which are part of our portfolio, right? Maybe I should bring up that slide. So you can definitely, I mean, and we see as we get to level 2 maturity, and as in particular level 3 SOC maturity, we do see customers going with the tools that they are comfortable with. In particular, we do see customers with other SIMs, right, like Splunk, Logarithm, and so forth. And like I was mentioning before, we play well. Our FortiSOAR tool plays very well with any SIM that you have. And the way to think about SIM and SOAR is SIMs kind of are optimized on visibility, and SOAR is taking actionable alerts from the SIM as an input into SOAR so that you can automatically respond to incidents, right? So you're not taking all the data that is getting into the SIM. You're integrating with actionable alerts from the SIM that are being an input into a SOAR. That's how kind of we can integrate. So very easily on the bottom end, FortiAnalyzer can push events based on what events you want to push into an existing SIM. We can either forward it in syslog format, we can forward it in set format, and so forth. And that's on the bottom end. And on the top end, FortiSOAR can pick actionable alerts from your existing SIM as well. So the short answer is yes. This in particular is focused on Fortinet products. So that's the reason we have Fortinet labels here, like FortiSIM and so forth. But totally, if you have an existing SIM, we totally understand and we integrate into that as well.
Great, thank you for explaining that. So we have a couple questions here regarding the FortiSOAR. So is a SIM required to get the value out of FortiSOAR, and is SOAR included as part of the subscription, or is it considered an add-on?
So FortiSOAR, the last part, FortiSOAR is if you are at level 1 maturity, right, and you want to optimize on top of your FortiAnalyzer feature set, right? So if you're on level 1 maturity and you want to optimize on FortiAnalyzer as the only product that can provide you the feature set of analytics as well as automation, right, which is SIM Lite and SOAR Lite. Then we give you an option, which is an add-on on top of FortiAnalyzer, which we call FortiSOC, right? So that's an add-on module which is applicable for level 1 SOC maturity, right? But then as you get to level 2 and level 3 SOC maturity, and you're looking for best in breed feature set as defined by Gartner, like SOAR Market Guide has a bunch of capabilities that in fact Gartner defines. And as you get into that, you have standalone offerings, and we have a standalone offering called FortiSOAR, which addresses the SOAR feature sets like I talked about before, which is around unified incident response management and SOC optimization and so forth. And that FortiSOAR feature is, or FortiSOAR product is a separate license, and it's a completely separate product, which is part of our price list. And please do reach out to us if you want to know more around pricing for FortiSOAR, but it is not an attached offering on top of FortiAnalyzer. So we have two things. We have for level 1 SOC maturity, we have an add-on module that goes on top of FortiAnalyzer, which we call FortiSOC. And then we have a SOAR product, a dedicated SOAR product called FortiSOAR, which has its own licensing, and it has one form factor today, which is a VM form factor. And if you want to learn more around the pricing around that, please do reach out to us, and we're happy to help.
Thank you for that. So it looks like we have time for one more here. This one is coming from Rich, and he's asking, and I think you may have touched on this earlier, talking about appliances versus VM, but asking if these solutions are cloud-based or they have the ability to integrate into the cloud?
So yeah, I mean, all of these. Now, if we talk about FortiAnalyzer in particular, yes. FortiSIM, yes. And FortiSOAR, yes, right? So in particular, I think this session, as we touched up on FortiAnalyzer, and maybe I think you're asking about FortiAnalyzer. FortiAnalyzer, we give you the form factors. We give you a form factor which is either hardware, we give you a form factor which is VM, or we have offerings on the public cloud providers as well, where you can go with pay-as-you-go option, or we also have a hosted offering for customers who don't want to manage the infrastructure. We do have that as well. So irrespective of what is your appetite for the form factor, we have that as a choice.
Great, thank you. So that is all the time that we have for today. I did want to again thank our audience for joining us, and Satish for a really great presentation. Again, if we are unable to get to your questions during this live event, we will follow up with you via the email that you provided. Satish, as we are closing this out, do you have any final thoughts for our audience?
Yeah, I think thanks a lot. I want to tell you guys, I really appreciate you taking the time to kind of listen to us for up to 45 minutes, and we truly appreciate that. Thank you.